Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is there. Thank you. You're always welcome to episode 8 of A Voice from the Ever Change. This is my guided meditation program. The title comes from the book that I've just published. And in that book, I wrote several poems, many poems actually, on the topics of loving kindness, equanimity, gratitude, the topic of meditation, which we'll be covering today, the topic of resting, and the topic of joy, embracing the present moment. And today I'll be reading a poem about resting with the mind, body, and heart, resting into the present moment experience, which could be quite helpful in the world climate today. But before I get into the poem, before I get into the commentary, I'll be guiding a meditation. I'll guide the meditation into silence, and then we'll rest in that silent space just for a few moments, maybe a minute or so. And then in that silence, I'll offer the poem. And you, the meditator, can allow the words to the poem to guide your awareness wherever your awareness may want to go. Just follow along with your awareness. You can maintain that meditation state. And then I'll offer the commentary. Again, allow your heart to be open to the words of the commentary. Allow the commentary to guide your awareness. And then at the end of the commentary, I'll ring the bell, and I'll do just a little bit of talking, a little bit of a Dharma talk, if you will, to wrap things up. So that's the general format. If any questions come up about what I'm reading or about the meditation practice, or if you already have a meditation practice and you have some questions you'd like to ask, please do send those to my Messenger account. I'll be offering a Q&A session at this same time on Sunday, where I'll be addressing the questions that are sent forth. Now, I know sometimes questions, people might be hesitant to send a question. They might feel like it's silly or they don't want to ask. But the question that you have the ability to verbalize, many other people may have, but they don't have the ability to verbalize. So you can consider the question you send as an act of generosity, helping other people for their quest for the similar answer, or their quest to answer that similar question, if you will. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. Thanks again for joining me. I'll ring the bell, I'll guide us into silence, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, it's meditation time. So allowing the body, mind, and heart to settle, just coming into this present moment experience. Noticing the breath entering and leaving the nose. Perhaps a dry or a cool sensation at the nostrils, or you might just notice the temperature changing from cooler to warmer through the nostrils as you breathe in and breathe out. Allowing awareness to expand to include the breath touching the back of the throat, perhaps a dry or a tingling sensation there. Noticing the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. There might be sensations of clothing moving to adjust with the rising and falling of the abdomen. You might also notice the back moving out slightly as you breathe in and in as you breathe out. You might also notice the shoulders rising and falling with each breath. And while maintaining awareness on the sensations of the breath, allowing awareness to expand to include sensations of clothing resting against the shoulders, noticing the arms resting against the body, the hands resting against the body or touching each other. There might be sensations of clothing against the back. Perhaps noticing the weight of the body against the chair, cushion, mat, or floor. You might also notice sensations of clothing against the legs, the feet against the mat or the floor. And while maintaining awareness on all of that, bringing attention to the top of the head, noticing any sensations arising from the crown of the head. There might be very little or no sensation, that's fine. Those areas of the body with little or no feeling will eventually wake up with consistent practice. For now, allowing awareness to expand to include the back of the head, sensations arising from the ears, the back of the neck. And as you inhale and exhale, allowing awareness to move into the face, noticing any sensations arising from the cheeks of the face, sensations arising at the chin, the lips, the nose, the eyes, noticing any sensations arising from the forehead, and expanding back into the top of the head, the very crown of the head. And while resting in awareness, experiencing the breath from the nose to the abdomen to the nose, experiencing the body from the top of the head to the bottoms of the feet. Allow awareness to also include any sound which might be available during this present moment experience. You don't need to focus on any one sound in particular, but noticing each sound. You might notice how each sound finds its perfect place within the rhythm of the present moment. The universe orchestrating the soundtrack of right now. And in addition to the sounds, paying close attention to the quality of still silence. There's always this backdrop of silent space. And when we listen to that silence, you might notice how that silent space permeates the present moment. And so we'll rest right there, maintaining open, spacious awareness, sensations of the breath, from the nose to the abdomen to the nose, sensations arising throughout the body, from the top of the head to the bottoms of the feet, the silence and sound of this present moment experience, and just rest, breathing in and breathing out. The poem. See how the sky cradles the color of the sunset, holding the clouds, caressing each bird. Mind, body, and heart just like the sky, caressing each emotion, holding each feeling, cradling each thought. Just as the clouds pass through the sky, so too sensations pass through the body. Just as birds soar through the sky, so too thoughts glide through the mind. Just as each radiant color of the setting sun shine dazzlingly, then slowly fade away, so too our emotions. So too our feelings move through the heart. Just rest. Mind like the sky, vast and open and clear. Mind like the sky, just rest. The commentary. Brilliant orange and yellow rays of radiant light intertwining with red hues cutting across the sky like lovers in embrace, streaming forth on a luxurious bed of deep blue. The clear, open sky of dusk, holding with compassionate openness the wispy clouds of billowing brilliance. A flock of birds playing a competitive game of follow the leader swiftly and gracefully glide through the color-laden evening. How busy the sky can be, and yet the sky doesn't seem to pay it any attention at all. It seems quite content to simply remain at rest. But how is this possible, you might ask? How can this be? Is there a way to remain at rest, mastering the skill to such a degree that we may rest regardless of what arises? Well, just look at the sky. Everything from brilliant sunsets to soaring birds to huge jet airplanes and rockets and blimps fly through the vast, open, clear sky. Yet the sky remains unmoved, untouched, untethered, and unbroken. How is this possible, you might ask? It is very possible. In fact, you needn't do anything at all. No effort is required in this endeavor, and in fact, all effort or working towards anything is just nothing other than a useless spinning of one's own wheels. Do nothing. Do absolutely, utterly, and completely nothing. Just rest. Every motion you make towards resting is a motion away from resting, because motion itself is not resting. Motion is, in fact, the very opposite of resting. Every thought which arises in the mind is just another bird passing through the sky. Just rest. Each emotion, just another storm traversing through the space in your heart. Rest in that storm. Just like the silence, which is always inherent within the field of sound, just as empty space is always inherent in the field of vision, just as love is always inherent in everything manifest, so too is resting naturally inherent in the nature of experience. Everything which arises in motion does so against the background space of resting. Can one rest regardless of what arises? Well, we already are. However, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our preferences and prejudices, our opinions cast a hypnotic spell over our attention, and we then lose sight of the natural state of resting which we are always in. We become completely absorbed into each story that our mind magically weaves, spellbound by the arising of each plot line, regardless of how trivial or important it might seem. We habitually entertain each emotion as if they were visiting family members coming in for tea. Just as sounds obscure the silence in which they bathe in, and the objects obscure the space in which they inhabit, the arisings within our minds steal away our stillness, our peace, and our rest. But this is only our habitual way of experiencing life, our standard mode of operation, if you will. It does not have to be this way. An alternative to this MO is to see each object arising in the visual field as a reminder of the often overlooked experience of emptiness within which those objects arise. Each object, each shape or color within the visual field can be a guide into the emptiness within which they are found. In addition to the objects within the field of vision, each sound may be a pointer to the field of silence. Just so, each motion made will eventually release into rest. In this very same way, each thought which appears in the mind may allow us to return to the present moment upon recognition. We may allow each distraction to then be a doorway into the awake, aware present, which is always inherent to the human experience. So, I recommend a consistent practice of doing nothing. It's perfect for this time. Most of us are holed up in quarantine, so a consistent practice of doing nothing is probably not that inaccessible for many of us right now. A consistent practice of doing nothing can be a really good way to cultivate the ability to rest. By doing nothing, I mean really doing absolutely nothing, which includes thinking. If you are thinking, you are doing something. Do absolutely, completely nothing in the most thorough, radical sense. It has often been said that peace is not the absence of adversity, but the ability to rest in the midst of it. In the silence of meditation, one can begin to sense that field of resting. Allow yourself to rest in the open space of awareness and simply allow for whatever arises to do what it naturally does. It ceases. If it's of the nature of arising, it's of the nature of ceasing. We simply remain at rest in that process. Complete resting in the body allows for sensations to pass through the body, like birds gliding through the sky. Complete resting in the mind allows for thoughts to effortlessly move through the mind like Complete resting in the mind allows for thoughts to effortlessly move through awareness like clouds through the sky. Complete resting in the heart allows for emotions and feelings to simply pass like storms through the sky. When all three aspects of experience, body, mind, and heart, are at rest, there is simply nowhere for the dust to settle. As Zen Master Hui Ning so aptly pointed out in his masterpiece, the Platform Sutra. In this complete state of rest, there is nowhere for our likes and dislikes, our preferences and prejudices. There's nowhere for our cravings and desires to take root and to cause conflict. Now we can indeed rest. Resting in the body, resting in the mind, resting in the heart. Vast and open like the blue sky. Just rest. Right now, just rest. And so that was my guided meditation, my poem and commentary offering of the day. And so I would just like to conclude with saying just a little bit about the present moment experience, as I have been doing each episode. Now, yesterday, if you were tuning in, I talked a little bit about fear and how when we experience fear arising, that is contingent on the mind moving into the past or into the future. Fear can only take root when our mind is moving towards a future moment where we think we'll be safer, or remembering a past moment where we were or we thought we were safer. And so I recommended coming into the present moment to feel the sensations of the body against the chair, or clothing against the body, or noticing any sounds of the present moment or the silence of the present moment. All of that can bring one in to the present moment. Fear is a very natural aspect of the human condition. We're not trying to eradicate fear from the human nervous system. In fact, fear is very much a part of the human experience. It's in our very DNA. It's a part of the fight or flight response. Without the feelings of fear, we might not even exist right now. It's fear that allows us to heed danger and to take flight, or to prepare for fight against that danger. However, we don't have to succumb to the feelings of fear that arise. And so, if you're feeling fear or anxiety these days, and I think many people are, notice that fear. Notice what the fear feels like. You can ask yourself questions. Is there a color to this fear, or a texture? Is there a particular shape to this fear? Does the fear arise in a particular area of my body, perhaps the abdomen or the chest, the shoulders or the jaw? And then bring in other aspects of the present moment as well. So feeling the fear, perhaps fear arising in the abdomen. Perhaps the color red arises with the fear, and a clenching of the jaw. But then also noticing the sounds of the birds singing. Also noticing the sensations of clothing on the body. Allowing the mind to be open like the sky. Allowing the heart to be vast and open. So vast and open that one can feel the fear and be honest with that feeling, and also feel the clothing on the skin, also smelling the food being cooked in the kitchen, also noticing the bird song or the music coming from next door. So we don't want to repress any aspect of the present moment, but rather make friends with all of the present moment, including the fear that we feel. Allowing the fear to be there, but then expanding out from that fear. You'll notice when fear arises, if you're really caught up in it, you collapse down onto that experience, and there's nothing but that anxiety. There's nothing else but that fear. If you're there, then what does the present moment sound like? Oh yes, the crickets. And awareness gets a little bit larger. Oh, there's also the sound of the birds. Awareness gets a little bit larger. Oh, I can also see the sunshine coming in the window. Awareness gets a little bit larger. Oh, now I can feel the sensations of clothing on my body. Awareness getting a little bit larger still. My body against the chair, larger. My feet against the floor. Awareness expanding much larger now. Oh, I can also feel the breath entering my nose and leaving my nose. Now awareness is quite large. The breath moving my body. Awareness larger still. And that's the idea, is keep expanding out. Keep expanding out so you're taking in more and more of the present moment. So I'll just give a little example of that because I think this is quite important, and then we'll wrap up. So let's say my awareness is the size of this cup, right? And this cup is filled with water. It's actually empty right now, unfortunately, but let's say it's filled with water, and my awareness is the size of this cup. So I pour maybe 6 dashes of salt in the water, this cup. Now, if I taste that, it'll probably taste pretty salty, right? Well, now let's say I have a cup of water the size of this room. Then I put the same amount of salt in, you won't even taste the salt. You wouldn't even notice it's there. And so that's the idea, is to, whenever we feel our awareness getting the size, that small, collapsing down. I really like that expression, collapsing down, because it feels so closed and claustrophobic. We collapse down on that fear. We collapse down on that anxiety. It can also be used for physical sensations like pain. We collapse down on it. And when we notice that, oh, sounds are a really good way to bring ourselves out. Oh, there's the sound of a dog barking, expanding out. There's the sound of the crickets, expanding out, and so forth, as I just went through, like that. So in that way, we can rest in the present moment. Now, yes, it really does help to have a meditation practice, because that's what we do in meditation. We practice expanding out, continually expanding our awareness further and further out, holding an open, spacious awareness. And we do that without mixed with distractions, so that when we come to everyday life and we feel some anxiety, we feel collapse down, we can then expand out, because we know already what it feels like in a meditation practice to do that. So it really does help to have a meditation practice to access that capability, that type of awareness of expansion. It's not necessary though. And in fact, if you don't have a meditation practice, don't be discouraged. I still recommend anytime you feel collapsed down, or you feel a heaviness or a fear or an anxiety, what's the present moment sound like right now? Start with the sounds. Then expand out. What am I seeing right now? What's the clothing feel like on my body? Coming back to the present moment. And honoring the fear too. Honor that. That's there. Okay, yes. We don't want to push that away. We don't want to repress it. It's okay to feel fear. Fear, again, is a human experience. And anytime we feel threatened, anytime the human being feels threatened, they will feel fear or anger, or a combination of both, fight or flight. So recognize that, that's okay. But then we don't need to be so focused on just that, because there's so much more of the present moment. The present moment is beautiful. Even though we might have fear in the present moment, there's also the sound of music. There's also the cool breeze. There's also the sunshine. There's also the taste of water. There's also the lovely kitten playing on the floor. Embracing the entire present moment. So I hope that helps. I hope that falls on ears that are open to it. That is my offering for today of A Voice from the Ever Change. I will be back again tomorrow, guiding a meditation, offering a poem and a commentary, and then doing a little bit of a talk, offering some wisdom, which is helping me through these very, very challenging times, and I hope it can help you all as well. That's my intention here. So have a good day, have a good morning if you're in the States, have a good afternoon in Europe if you're in Thailand or Australia, New Zealand. Have a good evening, have a good night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.